This was my favorite book of this year and possibly my favorite book of all time. Who's shocked? It's The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. A legend, a lie, a love story about nationalism and a man named Owen who is sent back in time to try to ensure that part of his nation's history, this very formative part of his history, remains intact. And that part of his formative history is a knight called Una Everlasting. I got a chance to ask the author at the Southern Festival of Books a question, and what I asked about was the importance of the way that she wrote about toxic motherhood, but not just about how a mother can be toxic towards children, but also how your motherland can be a toxic mother to its inhabitants. And she talked about in her answer how she specifically wrote the book with both a toxic mother and also examining how fascism, part of it, a necessary part for fascism to come to fruition, is nationalism. She explained that white women in particular are a crucial part of fascism and nationalism in particular by creating the next round of Nazis. A lot of the book is about telling the story of a nation's history. There's this quote from it that says, "When Professor Sawbridge had read the article, she sighed for a long time and said, 'You may be a patriot or a historian, Mallory, but not both. You argued that a nation is not a boundary on a map or a flag on a pole, but only a story we tell about ourselves.'" And if you think about how white mothers in the United States try to create nationalism, they try to retell a story about the United States that is not true. You can see this in how the Daughters of the Confederacy tried to rewrite history about the Confederates, and you can also see it now with how Moms for Liberty is trying to rewrite history using public school libraries. And this book critiques toxic motherhood and also toxic motherlandhood, aka nationalism, which white women, white mothers uphold and perpetuate and are crucial in creating. The book says, "I understood finally that a nation is a house with no windows or doors at all, that no matter what I did, no matter how much blood I spilled in its defense or ink I spent in its praise, it would never ever be my home. But if Dominion was not my home, where was it?" I love this book for talking about, if my mother is not my home, who is my home? If my nation is not my home, who is my home? Rewriting the stories of mothers and rewriting the stories of nations and motherland, and how who writes that story is typically the people in power, and what they tell, what story they tell, what history they tell is something that we need to examine. It's also a devastating love story. I think you should read it. Thanks, Tor, for sending me a copy.